First thing off rip, well, sorry for the little bit of a delay. Normally Sunday is just kind of my chill day, but I had some comments to respond to and all that stuff, and that has, birthed the first short that's on the channel, and I'm of two minds when it comes to this. Really, really, truly, I am the little character that we put on and all that stuff, and you guys were just overwhelmingly receptive of. Cut it out and put out the little short, had the little filter on it, the backing. Oh, it's just all maudlin nonsense with the little captions at the bottom. I want it to do well because I kind of have hopes for the character in and of itself. Just having a contrarian, different version of myself in order to bounce ideas off of could be fun, could be nothing, who knows. But then at the same time, I kind of want a little bit of hope out there in the universe that maybe that type of message doesn't resonate with anybody, even as painfully obvious that it is a parody over top of it. I just really hope. If it flops, it flops, and if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere, but it took a long time to do, and it's less than a minute long, so if you want to watch it, it's just in your little goofy-ass shorts feed, however they work with all that stuff. And then, of course, I cannot forget to shout my boy Ed out, and thank you once again. I responded to your comment and all that stuff as well. It's always appreciated. So now we can get into this stuff because it's very interesting, right? Because Tuesday, we kind of anticipate that Trump's going to get the old perp walk out of Trump Tower, and all the media cameras are going to be around, and it's going to be the biggest thing ever. But it's interesting. It's interesting. New York City bracing for unrest after Trump calls for protests over possible arrest and an indictment. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so we know that the law enforcement agencies, whatever it's going to be, if it's going to be FBI, if it's just going to be NYPD, if it's going to be the marshals, who actually knows at the end of the day who's going to come down there with the handcuffs and strap them on the orange man, and just the little tiny ones for his tiny little hands. But they troll social media whenever it's a right-wing situation. A right-wing protest is going to be there that has the potentiality to pop off. Oh, make sure that there's an increased police force because we don't want any riots that are going to be going down. But every single weekend you see calls to violence. The biggest ones that have been popping off recently are down there in Atlanta at that with Treehouse Antifa to try to shut down the cop city. Yeah, no, they don't want to do anything about that. But now I guess maybe kind of in the back of my mind, but we'll get to that once we get there. But what's New York City doing on this one? It's not like their police department is already stretched far enough. New York Police Department and the U.S. Secret Service are huddling to prep for Trump's possible indictment in Manhattan after the former president said he expects to be arrested Tuesday and called on his supporters to protest. He just said that they will protest. That's the exact same stuff, that he did beforehand, but we've seen how that got spun and agitated by some astroturf protesters. Anyways, after the law enforcement sources told the Post. It's interesting. The FBI, state court officers, and Manhattan Fat District Attorney Alvin, I don't know what he has to brag about. Oh, no, right, that's his surname's office, have also been kept in the loop on security discussions with the Big Apple bracing for the worst after Trump, 76 years old. Just compare and contrast. Biden's 80. That's just a few years older than Trump. Who looks their age? Who looks every day of their age? And who looks like somebody who's at least a decade younger? It's for you to decide, really. Urged his followers to take our nation back. Oh my God, that's basically fight like hell. It's just another insurrection's coming. Ugh. In light of the looming indictment, the sources said, we will use all available resources, one NYPD source said Sunday. One source, and that's what you run with. Good journalism that's out here. But we also know how stretched New York Police Department is, given the fact that they can barely contain the rampant crime that's going down there, and who even knows what's going to be happening on Tuesday. There's going to be a lot of out-of-work delinquents that, I don't know, maybe have certain proclivities to some pallets of bricks that might be showing up. I don't know. It's not like we haven't seen this shit happen before. It's almost like it's exactly on time. It's just, everybody kind of thought that maybe BLM would be sparking up right now, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon. But now they're just going to try to agitate the other side of this stuff. Very interesting how this all works. We will use, yes, all resources available. using the department's strategic response group. Never heard of this before, even with all of the different protests. Like, were they brought out for Occupy Wall Street? Or were they just set up afterwards? You know, we don't want to have that happen again. Which responds to civil unrest and major events. It has a role in this agency, and when needed, they will be called in. Okay. Officials from several agencies met on Sunday and expected to confer again on Monday, according to a source. Yeah, wonderful, fantastic. Trump took to his Truth Social site over the weekend. Oh my God, do those guys right there look like they could defend anything other? Oh, they're probably there for the Starbucks. Okay, normally they just kind of look like Dunkin' Donut type guys. Did they look threatening at all whatsoever? Well, at least their shoes are tied. I have sympathy for the dog because he probably smells the best. Yes. Yeah, Trump took to Truth Social. We pretty much talked about that yesterday. Former president's online call to supporters has federal, state, and local authorities on alert. Fucking hilarious. This is the one thing. This is the one thing that gets everybody's attention. Weird. Source said several agencies will meet again on Monday to discuss security measures that include restricting vehicle access to Manhattan Courthouse and deploying inside and outside the building. You can't, okay, if there is an indictment that kind of seems incredibly likely at this point in time, if we can't figure out how you guys can just, have Trump turn himself in or, do like Hillary Clinton and just, kind of suss this stuff out on the phone, pay a fine or something like that. If that's even what this comes down to. No. They want all of this distraction. They want the riots. They want the burning. They want the looting. They want everything. They want all the smoke in this situation. Just to paint Trump supporters as these lunatics that are out there because, hey man, they got burnt on the insurrection last time around thanks to Tucker Carlson releasing all the security cam footage. Wow, the Q shaman getting escorted right to the Senate chambers. Yes, big insurrection that he was going to have there. Fucking guided to the chambers. Christ on ice. We'll handle it like we do almost anything, like we do anything else. NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Public Information Kevin Maloney said to the Post, "It's Lower Manhattan. There's always plenty of police presence down there anyway, so we'll monitor the situation, have ample resources. We'll see what Tuesday brings." Yeah, it really does seem like that, but Trump insists there was no crime, period, and now says Manhattan's DA should be investigated for interfering with the election, as a White House says, "We're watching this," after ex-president called for protest. Nobody wants to address the elephant in the room. And I'm not talking about Trump. Listen, I'm a Trump guy, big Trump supporter as well. But hey, if you jokes are jokes, and if they're going to be there, might as well go right after them. Another living politician on this level within the confines of the United States. This is unprecedented space. And they're so shook about this. It's almost as if it's just like a kid who knows when they get caught and they've done something wrong, but they don't want to fess up to it. They're creating this atmosphere right here because there are other things they can do in order to mitigate any risk, but there's no photo op involved with that. There's no potentiality for anybody burning anything if they do that. No, of course not, man. Trump is claiming full innocence and isn't buying the narrative from some Republicans defending him by saying the alleged hush money payments he made to Stormy Daniels are a misdemeanor at best. His Republican supporters, yes, such strong Republican supporters like Alan Dershowitz and Jonathan Turley. Yeah, big legal scholars, by the way, if those names don't ring a bell. Big Republicans, those guys. The former president said on Sunday that there was no crime and flipped the script on the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, demanding the Democratic prosecutors be investigated for interfering with a presidential election. Which one? Don't know. Prosecutors argued that he violated a New York law which prohibits falsifying business records when he marked $130,000 Trump personally. Okay, payments to Daniels as legal expenses. Trump said he expects to be arrested on Tuesday on New York State charges ahead of a payment he made ahead of the 2016 presidential election. How far ahead are we talking? Meanwhile, the White House claims that it is not preparing for any violence as a fallout of the possible indictment this week, except for it's the meme, right? With the stick. It's like, come on, do a riot. We don't want to riot. Do a riot. We want to paint Republican Trump supporters because there's once again lines being drawn on this one. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at here in a moment. But what is Trump saying about this stuff before everybody else? What are their responses to it? Because the people who have chimed in, it's interesting because there's some people that you wouldn't expect, and then the people who haven't said anything about it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they haven't said anything about it. Okay, anyways, the ex-president urged his supporters to protest. Very important, because that's enshrined in the, which amendment is that? Oh, right, the First Amendment, right? You have a right to protest. You have a right to assemble. If you think that something isn't just, you can go ahead and hit the streets in a non-violent fashion. Do whatever you like, but just also pay attention for agitators that are going to be out there, okay? So there's the truths by Trump. When Alvin Bragg first attained his office, I don't know why, it took him a long time. They had to go in there and they had to retrofit his office because he's people tell, I would never say this, but people tell me he's the largest DA that's been there. He's got more important things to do. Have you seen Manhattan recently? Recently, the people tell me it's very dangerous. Some of the worst crime that I've ever seen in Manhattan. He made it very clear that, like many other prosecutors, there's no case against Donald J. Trump. Then the Biden administration, the Democrats, some people call them demon rats. I would never call them that, but I hear demon rats all the time. People tell me. And the fake news media began pushing him hard. He's a big man. You'd have to push him hard. And lo and behold, he said that there might be a case after all. He knew what they meant. Excuse me. He was being pushed to do something that should be done. He wasn't willing to stand up to Soros. The man paid him. We can see. Everybody tells me that there's records there. He's paid by Soros. Okay, I'm not telling any lies. That's just what they tell me. And the Marxists that are destroying our country. There was no misdemeanor here. Listen, we need to go ahead and we need to clear the air on this. There is no misdemeanor. There's nothing wrong. I didn't do anything. I'm being framed. It's a setup. There is no crime, period, at all. All other of many Democrat law enforcement officers, well, could you even call them law enforcement officers? They're not very good at enforcing any laws. Have you seen them? Have you seen their cities? Very dangerous. The most dangerous. I took a pass. So did Cy Vance, and so did Bragg. But then, much later, much later, a long time after, they couldn't find anything. He changed his mind. Gee, I wonder why. People must have gotten his ear. Prosecutorial misconduct and interference with an election. Investigate the investigators. So that's what Trump had to say on this. I guess that's what I hear, right? But what are the people around him? Because this is going to be interesting as well. Because this is going to be a rallying point for quite a long time. Because the streets are going to be looking like that next week. It's going to be wild, even though, like 200 banks are on the brink of collapse and that there's still a supply chain crisis and people are still pouring over the southern border and Biden keeps fighting and losing against different flights of stairs. But you know what? Hey, we need to go out there and we need to arrest Trump on a weird misdemeanor. Listen, I can't even hear anybody pin down what the potentiality for this crime could really be, why it would require a big old televised perp walk, and why can't they just figure it out right here in Brainerd? If you get that reference, you're a smart man. But a longtime conservative activist has advice for Trump supporters considering protesting. Now, if I'm not up here in Canada, if I'm close to a city that's out there, I'd go down to one of those. Hell fucking yeah, because this is so retarded. Okay, they are railroading this man. Okay, the orange man just wants to make America great again. Is that so bad at the end of the day? It's funny, because I think I've made mention of this before, but definitely not, recently, so I can just go ahead and say this again. It's Canada and the United States are inexorably linked. I'm not breaking any ground by pointing that out, and I've been alive, or at least cognizant enough to really understand three different regimes. Like I was alive during Clinton, but not really all that aware. Like I was still single digits in age. I was born in 1990 after all. But I remember most of the Bush administration. I remember, regrettably, all of the Obama administration, and then I remember the Trump administration. What a glorious time for literally everybody. But even still, like during Obama, like his cult of personality never really caught on up here. Like we had Stephen Harper at the time, and he was just kind of a malaise the prime minister. Sorry, oopsie daisy. But he did a really good job. He pretty much steered Canada through the 2008 housing collapse better than any other Western leader. He pretty much mitigated the disaster, and during that time, the dollar in Canada was trading, I think it peaked probably about 30 cents over the American dollar. Like, we were flying high, but then all of a sudden, there was a substitute drama teacher with beautiful hair decided to turn up and reclaim his birthright, and now take a look at this fucking socialist shithole. Anyways, Obama's meteoric popularity, okay, his astronomical poll numbers never quite resonated up here. Not in my neck of the woods. We're a bit more of a blue-collar town, and I thought Democrats were supposed to be for the blue-collar, but we all know that that's a horseshit at the end of the day. Never seen any, George Bush stickers. Might have seen, maybe it was just like in high school or something like that. Bush is a war criminal. Okay, very original. But Obama, like, I remember when he was elected, and I watched his acceptance speech, and I think I might have caught some of the inauguration, but outside of that, people had respect for Obama, but hey man, there was no crossover, nothing like I seen with Trump. I legitimately seen when I was out, there's one house that I remember specifically flying a flag and all that stuff. There was a Trump 2020 flag that was out there. I've seen different Trump stickers. There was bumper stickers. Trump 2020, make liberals cry again. Those bumper stickers all over mailboxes. Okay, I don't know if there are trolls that are out there, but the fact that a president from another country and his message can resonate, like you've seen it in Brazil, different African countries as well, in the lead up to 2020, the man is fucking popular. I like a vast majority of his policies. I like the fact that you can't buy him off because the motherfucker is independently wealthy, so you can't get into his pockets like that. You can't coerce him with pussy because guess what? You can go get any piece of pussy that he wants, and he will be more than willing to tell you about it. The only thing that you can really entice him with is, I don't know, like a Big Mac on a fishing rod, and that's about it, man. He was a workaholic when he was in office, and the only real problem that pretty much everybody else can point out, he was really bad with personnel. But also, if you read The Art of the Deal, I'm looking over at my copy right there, and I read it just after Biden took office, to just trying to see, it's like, okay, how did he fuck up, okay? Is there anything that we can learn from the past? And yeah, of course. The way that Trump was trying to run the White House was the same way that he was trying to run his businesses. Obviously, everybody knows that. But the intricacies when it comes to this stuff. He had the ability and he had the leeway in order to just fire people if they weren't performing for him. And then he's also fiercely loyal to people that have been good performers for him in the past. And unfortunately, when it comes to the White House, you got people that are in there in positions that have been there for decades upon decades upon decades. And if it's not them, they have other connections in the form of other family members or different people that everybody owes favors to. So if somebody's not performing, you can't just easily go, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Just walking down, just emptying out offices the moment that you show up. You can't really do that. You kind of have to play the game just a little bit. And of course, if Trump had that second term right after his first one, a lot of those swamp creatures would have got flushed out because, hey man, guess what? He wouldn't have had anything holding him back. And that's what they're so fucking afraid of right now. Everybody just likes their nice, cozy existence right now because Biden's been in public office for about 50 fucking years at this point in time. That's not being hyperbolic. By the end of his term, I think it's 51 years on the government tit. 51 fucking years. Outside of what, like a 2-year span in the private sector when he was a defense lawyer for who even knows which crimes he helped prosecute? Probably some, land dispute from the Civil War. But Biden knows everybody. He knows everybody on both sides of the aisle. And that's the problem, man. Trump upset everybody on both sides of the aisle. And that's why they are more than willing to sacrifice him and install somebody who's, just a little bit more tempered. Has a couple more avenues in order to allow for some political machinations to take hold. Somebody who's kind of like Trump, but a little bit more palatable. Listen, Trump, we like your policies, but we just don't like the way that you say it. There's another Florida man who does it just a little bit better. It's fucking disgusting. It's like those idiots that think that, oh wow, can you believe how brash and brazen the modern woman is? I've seen clips from the whatever podcast. And it's like, okay, cool. Catch up to everybody who's been watching Fresh and Fit for a hot second. Fucking dorks. No, it's just nicer because the TrideCons go on the whatever podcast, and it's not as abrasive. These fucking dorks. Politics has become a blood sport. Maybe it already has been. Maybe it always has been. And I'm just late to the party. But the time of the Republican Party being the party of losing with dignity, that died with a brain tumor that was keeping John McCain alive. Longtime conservative activist has advice for Trump supporters considering protesting. Keep it fucking peaceful. Or keep it peaceful. Let's try enunciation. How about that? Yes, if you want to have a big showing of support like this, I think that would be fantastic. It would be a wonderful way to show that they support a man who's being unjustly prosecuted. Funny how there's echoes of this all the way across the world. Don't need to name anybody in particular, but their last names both start with the same letter. Longtime conservative activist recommended that supporters of former President Donald Trump tightly police your gatherings and to be wary of provocateurs after the former president called for protests amid reports that he might be arrested by Manhattan District Attorney's Office next week. Yes, exactly. Because we've seen that, again, with January 6th, and you also seen that during some of those Trump rallies that were going down in 2015, 2016. There were some Democrat-paid provocateurs showing up, just trying to push around, just trying to be rowdy. James Earl Sullivan, CNN contributor that was inside the Capitol building, never spent a moment in jail, but definitely had all of his footage all over CNN. Big fucking think on that one. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, a Democrat in New York, my stars and garters, is reportedly investigating Trump for providing $130,000 to adult performer. The fucking payoff. Okay, you signed this NDA. Here's your compensation. Go on with your day. Oh no, he put it in the wrong column of his Excel spreadsheet. And that's an arrestable offense, huh? Big shock on that you take it all the way to the highest level. Arizona Republican candidate and apparently frontrunner for VP for Trump in 2024. Interesting. I like Carrie Lake a lot, but there was some stuff that was coming out about her lawsuits that were getting expedited up the chain of command in regards to the Arizona governorship. Some stuff that people were talking about on Rumble that I would have loved to talk about as well, and there were some spicy allegations as well, but it's just kind of stalled out, and at this point in time she kind of has to look forward to the future, and if that's either as a VP or going up against Kat Timp's, why not? Well, by all means. But yes, Arizona Republican Carrie Lake, too, suggested that peaceful protest should be in order if Trump is indicted. And I would remind the critics of the First Amendment, the United States grants us the right to peaceably assemble. Lake said in a statement, "We cannot allow ourselves to go live in such fear of the left's infiltration that we will surrender our God-given rights without them even asking." Exactly. Go out there, go with love and with peace and be peaceful. In response, a longtime conservative activist and Washington, D.C. protest organizer Kristen Taylor, the name looks familiar, wrote for the Gateway Pundit that Trump supporters should be especially cautious in the wake of events that occurred on January 6th at the U.S. Capitol. Ta-da! So even if the police officers are like, "No, guys, it's totally fine. You can come on the other side of those barricades. There's nothing wrong with that." They breached the line. Let's get them. It's like, yeah, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again. With Trump supporters now recognizing the provocateurs and federal agents, oh my God, it's going to be a big fed op. Why do you think they let this leak so early? They're just trying to see who's on vacation right now. Okay, how many, glowies they can get into New York City by about Tuesday. So, man, there's going to be more feds at these ops than, what was that one rally? Matt Brainerd tried to organize that one where you have those wonderful screenshots of those guys all wearing their Ray-Bans with the fucking military issued cut, and then they're just khaki cutoff shorts and their polos. It's like, come on, all the way down to the fucking holster bulge. It's like, for fuck's sakes, man, there's more feds than actual protesters here. Oh, do they actually reference that? Jesus Christ, parallel thinking. Okay, with Trump supporters now recognizing that provocateurs and federal agents will attempt to infiltrate protests, my recommendation would be to go ahead and protest, but to tightly police your gatherings. Gatekeeping? Why you're gatekeeping? I love the sound of that. Best to avoid the whole lot of them, she wrote in the article giving advice or demonstrators. I would also tell people who show up in camo or khaki military fatigues to get lost, the activist added. Exactly, and we also seen that about a year and a month ago up here in Canada when it came to the truckers protest, the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. It was hilarious. It was all peaceful and wonderful and fantastic. It was just it was the best time to actually be Canadian. It was a nice sense of patriotism that we very rarely get to express up here. Until you had the guy who was just masked and covered up and, wearing the big ski goggles. And, oh my God, he found the one swastika flag that was still around at Claire's Accessories. Or the fucking Confederate flag in Canada. What the fuck does that even mean that he could find at Spencer's Gifts? And he was walking around. It's like, hello, fellow protesters. It's like, oh, just get the fuck back on your horse, Dudley, do right and go fuck off. Like, it was such an op. Because everybody else is out there protesting for what exactly? All right, coof mandates to be restricted, but you're the only motherfucker wearing a mask and you're supposed to be a part of the group. You're just one of the boys. Hey, hi, fellow protester. Do you have a kokanee available? Like, just fuck off. Tell the hotheads and people who want to follow the rules and those who just don't want around, they are free to protest elsewhere. Yeah, like over there. Just go with the black bloc guys because they're going to be turning up as well. There's a reason they announced this and they let this leak on Friday to get everybody... to give everybody enough time to set the date and show up so that you can have Antifa there, which just is a myth and idea, and I'm sure NYPD isn't paying much attention to them, kind of like how there was the Capitol Hill Police Department and then the National Guard. It's like, oh, we know that there's going to be a lot of people that are showing up. Well, that's fine. We don't need any additional resources. We want them to fight. Christ, how many more impressions can I work into this video? You can still have fun, make your voice heard, doing it like this. I know, I did it successfully in the belly of the beast for over a decade without being arrested or beaten. Yeah, well, times are different there, Kristen. I think this is Kristen who's still talking about this. I don't know how to listen to women. She noted that rights must be exercised or they will be taken away. The Democrats are using the powers of government to suppress conservatives. That's true, man. And you can be bitchy, moany, whiny, and complaining about it, but otherwise you just know the rules and play within them. Just because you don't like the way that the rook moves on the chessboard doesn't mean that you have the right to just flip the game and then just move it however you want to. Understand what you're doing and then apply those rules accordingly to achieve your certain goals. Is more important. Understanding what is more important than what you think it should be. What you think should happen? Well, actually, I can't get into what I think should happen regarding Trump in this situation and the guy that's currently in the White House. But given that she references constitutional form of government for those who have abused their powers and subverted the government from within. Yeah, exactly, man. Understand that shit is pretty fucked up right now, but the only way that you change that is by taking back the levers of power peacefully and within the rules. One side's going to break the rules. Cool. You can't control what they're going to do. All you can do is control your own actions. So we've seen what Carrie Lake has spoken about, and this Kristen Taylor or some shit like that. I don't fucking remember. Yeah, Kristen Taylor. Okay, they've opined on this, but there's been some interesting people also chiming in on this as well. Some people that I actually didn't expect to be voicing approval. That's wild. It's kind of wild. Several prominent Democrats and Republicans took umbrage with Trump's calls for protest, of course, including Representatives Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. Yes, because Adam Schiff is finally just, yanking his 2-inch crank right now. Oh, see, I told you all that time. I told you all that time that the walls were closing in. I had the documents. Yeah, but bitch, you were talking about Russiagate, so just fuck off. And Nancy Pelosi, well, I'm sure she gave a comment when she could raise her head above the bar and in between sips. The former president's announcement this morning is reckless. And if anybody knows anything about reckless, it's the bitch who doesn't know how to keep a security camera rolling and you can't keep some fucking fat vagrant out of your backyard and your husband safe, you dumbass. Doing so, keep himself in the news. Are you? It's Nancy Pelosi. She's 9,000 years old, but Trump doesn't have to keep himself in the news. The news exists for Trump being relevant, so let's just stop it and to prevent unrest among his supporters. Soon after Trump's call for protest, former Vice President Mike Pence. Just wait a second. I know you probably have a visceral reaction to whatever this old neocon is talking about, but it's not bad. Himself a possible 2024 candidate. He's basically all but declared. He's already made, little notions. Hey, maybe we need somebody new in the office. And then all of his donors are just... That's a Mike Pence crowd for you. told a reporter Saturday, we want to send a very clear message that violence will not be tolerated, and anyone that would engage in violence would be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. He did not provide any evidence of any possible acts of politically motivated violence. Pence also said that we respect the rights of Americans to let their voice be heard and express frustrations over what appears to be politically motivated prosecution of the former president. Actually had a pretty measured take about this. Listen, man, this is a political prosecution, but if anybody's going to go out there and fuck around, well, you're going to find out. So consider yourself warned. Spokesperson and advisor to Pence, Mark Short, went a step further on a CNN interview, red flag, and likened Trump's post to the January 6th breach. Yeah, of course, all of those fucking idiots are stupid. But you know who's not made a statement on this at all whatsoever and has continued to just go down there and push really stupid fucking baseless policy? Where's the little would-be usurper from Florida? No, where's Meatball Ron? I wouldn't call him Meatball Ron. Other people call him Meatball Ron. I have my own nickname for him. Where's his statement on this? Oh, right. He's been quiet because he's biding his time and counting his neocon cash. Fucking hilarious, isn't it? The man who would be politically dead if it wasn't for Trump not coming forward and saying, this looks like political prosecution. No, it's very, very funny. Very funny. It looks like somebody's just waiting to be a snake in the grass to pop up. And it's like, oh, I can run in 2024? Ooh, how interesting. But we shall see. We shall see. It's going to be a wild-ass week. Banks are collapsing everywhere. The economy's taking a shit. The fucking stock market's going through the roof. And we're going to see a presidential candidate and a former president do a perp walk next week. Holy, what a fucking time to be alive. So, with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.